Hi, today I'd like to dive into Don't Know. I'm Susan Brown, welcome to my channel, and if you don't know me, I'm an artist, author, yoga teacher, and I'll be pulling a card from my Dakini Deck. Here's what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to shuffle the cards for everybody. And I'm just holding Don't Know. These are cards that use 30 of my oil paintings. And I've been using tarot cards and oracle cards forever. So I made my own deck. And I just dropped a bunch of them. It's my painting in process behind, but okay, cards are shuffled. I'm going to fan them out. Hold it to my heart. Don't know. So, the card I picked is Primal. It's number 16, Light and Dark. Primal, light and dark. That feels pretty pre-knowing, pre-verbal to me. I'm going to look at my notes here. So this card is about responding to primal will. I wonder what primal will knows. Let's see what I've written about it. So in the card, you can see, this is a mudra. And when both hands come together to form the infinity symbol, the index fingers touch the thumbs, and that's of infusing ego. Our thumbs are ego with knowledge. This is a Jupiter finger, knowledge. So intuitive speaking comes from affinity with all of the cosmos. Like, what does that mean? Intuitive speaking comes from affinity with all of the cosmos. Here's something else. When the invisible becomes visible and is still invisible, you know it exists. So that's the best place to know from with regard to don't know. So when the invisible becomes visible, but is still invisible, we know it exists. So the card is speaking in a global way, typically spiritually, right? But I'm thinking about this virus, the coronavirus. It's invisible, becomes visible, but it's still invisible. We know it exists. So we can apply that to a scientific principle, but how do we apply it to spiritual realities or, the invisible world? What makes it visible? I think what makes it visible is kindness, for instance. If we're acting from kindness, even just acting from not knowing, I think that's helping the invisible to be visible, even though it stays invisible. So let's see what else I've written, because this can start to sound like a lot of mumbo jumbo, right? Okay. Illumination comes in a flash when ideals are lost, toppling existing forms. Wow. Illumination. So illumination is that invisible. It becomes visible because there's that flash, there's that aha, right? It's still invisible, but we know it exists because it's that flash. And that often happens when our ideals are lost, toppling existing forms. And I think existing forms are toppling right now. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way things were, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this is the beginning of rethinking everything, rethinking connection, rethinking health. Pick a topic. I think we'll be rethinking it. That's my prediction. So here's something. Allowing the material world to control you attracts unforeseen disappointments or even scandal. So allowing the physical world, the material world to control you, that's not paying attention to the invisible, right? Because so everything in the physical world issues from the invisible. See, don't know. These aren't easy concepts, but not knowing helps us to maybe initiate that illuminating flash. Where did that come from, right? Silence and meditation bring out the mystic. So when we meditate, we don't know, right? We know thoughts come or don't come. We pay attention to them or we don't. We fight them or we don't. But there's a silence. There's a not knowing because we're being alert to what's arising. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, clear insights awaken the real you. So is the real you, physical? Is it invisible? Is it both? How do we know, right? How do we not know? So this card is asking us to use our talent for communication, to liberate confusion in the heart and recover ease. So how do we communicate from not knowing? When we talk to each other, when we think to ourselves, when we write a letter or a phone call or a text, if we communicate about something from a place of not knowing, what does that look like compared to when we communicate thinking we know? Do you understand the difference? I may know that the sun is shining, right? But there's a lot I don't know in that statement as well. I may know that someone is having a bad day, but do I really know what the cause of that difficulty is? Perhaps it's easier to just acknowledge today feels hard without needing a big story around it. Putting space. I think when we don't know, we put more space around our words. I think we put more space around our thoughts. And I think that's allowing the invisible to be visible. Just an idea. I wonder what you might think about that. So all of my cards, I have a question at the end. And so the question at the end of this card, Primal, remember we're looking at light and dark, visible and invisible, and responding to primal will. So the question for this card is, what life-empowering circumstance has manifested as if out of the blue? So take a minute and not know, like an answer might arise and maybe that's the perfect answer, but put some space around the question and see what might arise out of the invisible. So what life-empowering circumstance has manifested as if out of the blue? So I'll leave you with that. I'll leave me with that. And thank you. think about liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks.